What made you decide to be a chiropractor in the first place?
All right. When I was a kid, the main sports I was playing in the summer was sprint racing, canoeing, a canoeist. So I was always paddling on the same side. Basically, the repetition of my training, it was like a stress when the paddle was hitting the water on my low back and so on. In the middle of a competition, I was winning the competition by about a boat's length. And all of a sudden, I just went down, my back seized, I fell in the water. So rescue boat comes and gets me and so on. And they say, hey, what the hell happened to you and so on. As I got out of the water on the dock, I started walking. I felt this sharp burning pain down my left leg and so on. So we had a therapist. He looked at me, or he or she, I don't remember, but they looked at me and they were saying, it's probably just a spasm and everything, And like I said, I was in great shape. So for them back then, 14-year-old, 15-year-old kid being in such pain didn't make sense. So it was just like, what? It's the adrenaline, the emotions. You just came out of a rest. Just like go home, rest it, and so on, and we'll be okay. So I did that. I was getting somewhat better, but never 100%. And then the other side of the coin is that hockey season was fast approaching. So anyway, we went to the clinic, we went to physio and everything, and nobody seemed to be able to put their fingers on it and everything. One morning, out of the blue, in the local newspaper, my mom was reading an ad from a local chiropractor, specialist in back pain and everything. We didn't know chiropractic from a hole in the wall. We had no idea what it was and so on. And my mom says, you know what? Might as well try it, and so on. So I went to this guy. I didn't, like I said, I didn't know much about chiropractic, CMCC grad, and so on. But what amazed me, he was the only one that got interested as to what really happened to me. The mechanism of injury, he was asking me questions and so on. And he says, well, it makes sense, it's just like the repetition and so on. There's probably something going on with your low back. Let me shoot some x-rays. He was the first one that ordered x-ray and saw right on the spot I had fractured L5 on S1. So I had a bilateral fractures of the pars, a spondylolisthesis. That was probably already there, but the canoeing, the sport just aggravated it. And that was putting enough pressure on the nerve that I was feeling it down my leg. So lo and behold, he started adjusting me and he gave me the straight story. He says, you know what, this thing might never come back to its original setting, but we'll do everything to stabilize it so that way you can resume and everything. I did a few months of treatment with him. The following summer, I won the Canadian Championship, pain-free. Yeah. So I was fairly amazed. And even to that point, I've always been called to work within healthcare field or something, maybe as a trainer, maybe as a therapist. I didn't really know, the chiropractic story didn't click in my head at that point. Then a few years later, I injured myself. I had a summer job. I was changing tires on cars at Costco, actually. I re-injured myself. Called the same guy, called the same chiropractor. To my surprise, he had changed completely his practice. From a CMCC grad, he had an epiphany and became a child.
Really?
And that's all he did, okay? And he did it the BJ Palmer way, where he was scoping you, looking at the reading. If you needed an adjustment, he would adjust you. If you didn't need an adjustment, he would send you. So that was pretty much like the adjustment, okay? With the knee chest table and so on. So he would just toggle my atlas and that's it. And I was amazed. I got great result. I said, what the hell happened and everything. Then my decision point in terms of becoming a chiropractor or more involved in it. So I went to school and so on. So I finished my CEGEP in health science, and then I enrolled at Laval University in a combined microbiology biochemistry. But always in my mind to become a chiropractor and so on. So we contacted several colleges and we decided we're going to go visit some campus.
Cool.
We went to National in Chicago. We went to Davenport to visit Palmer. We went to Logan. We went to NYCC and so on. Basically, my decision came to a gut feeling because I was accepted at all schools I applied.
Yeah.
And Logan basically told me, you're accepted on the spot. You can start right away if you want and everything. And back then, my ex was coming with me. And the other side of the story was that because I was going to an American college, there were fees or anything, I had to convince my dad to help me. And from that point on, I just was amazed and so on. What I was learning. Being in the States, I had the opportunity to go to many seminars, many programs and so on. and really found my calling within the philosophical side of the profession. You know, even when I first saw that chiropractor, the philosophy just like, yeah, I mean, it rang really hard, really deep with me, and so on. So this is where I started like gaining more and more and so on. And the technique part too, we were exposed at different technique. I also was shadowing my Gonstead instructor at school. And and on a side note, okay, this is what really made me a believer and so on. My ex had a fausse couche in French. It's like a false labor or a slip labor. Yeah, okay. And it was like quite a traumatic event and so on. So I started speaking to some doctors in the faculty and so on, and I spoke to my Gonstead instructor, and he said something to me that makes really sense. He said, "Well, how's her system?" I says, "Well, you know, she's never been really regular with her menses and so on." He says, "Let's stimulate her thyroid gland, and I'll take it on me. I'll adjust her low back, you know, just to make sure everything is good over there. But we're going to start giving her kelp, which is a seaweed that's very rich in iodine, which is basically what stimulates the thyroid gland and so on." Well, lo and behold, she got pregnant second time. No issues and everything. And from that point on, it was just amazing. He kept adjusting her on a weekly basis and so on. And I got to learn so much just by observing him. And he was like a really hardcore Gonstead principal chiropractor and so on. This again was just like reinforcing my ideology, the philosophy. I mean, this is what I want to do. Pure, unadulterated chiropractic. People that are comfortable doing this, by all means do it and so on, but just not for me. For me, it's like a pure, genuine, hands-on chiropractic. And I've been that way since last September, where I started introducing instrument adjusting in my in my clinic, almost 25 years later. I was more of a, I wouldn't say mature student, but I enrolled in chiropractic school. I was 25 years old. I graduated, I was 29 actually. Yeah, so for me, I mean, I wasn't there to waste my time. So I started on my own after about, give or take 6 to 8 months of associateship. I started on my own from scratch. No patient base, no nothing, and so on. Word of mouth, and we just like been going that way. And most of my patient base I got through networking, word of mouth. I cannot say I really spent a lot on advertisement, you know. And back then, I was doing the waiting list practice program, like the coaching programs and everything. And I mean, I got out of it, but that too was not like suiting my personality. So I was in the Bachelor, like in my basement, the basement of my house for about a year. And then I found a location in my hometown. I opened up a clinic and we did like something nice. I was just across the hallway from the Chamber of Commerce of the city. So I had like many contacts and everything. One of my clients was a personal trainer and so on. And he was like fairly knowledgeable. He knew like the whole sports scene in Montreal and so on. And basically talked about me to the head therapist of the Montreal Alouettes.
Cool.
And I receive a call out of the blue. Says, "Hey, Dr. Lamarre, this is so-and-so. I'm the head therapist of Montreal Alouettes and everything." I said, "Wow, okay. To what do I owe the honor?" He said, "Well, we have a chiropractor that works with us, but he's moving his clinic to Calgary. We don't know anybody else and so on. I mean, people are talking very highly of you and everything. We'd like to see if you would be interested to coming to training camp and see how everything would go." I says, "Well, let me think." Yes. So I went there and we went to training camp, got introduced, and right on the spot, the team doctor gets me to adjust Anthony Calvillo. Okay, he was like the star. Yeah, he was the star quarterback. Okay, he was complaining of a hip issue and so on, a hip pointer, if I remember. So I treated him, and the connection was immediate. So I became their chiropractor for 9 years.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. That's pretty cool.
From 2003 to 2012, I was the chiropractor of the Montreal Alouettes, and I had my own clinic and so on. It was very good from a business standpoint. You know, it brought a lot of stands to my status. Hey, he must be good. He's the Montreal Alouettes chiropractor, you know, but I didn't do anything special. It was just like right moment, right time, right person, and so on.